United States of America. I'm more fortunate than this one right now because there are 40 different races that we know go Republican. This is the one that can go either way. That's going to be entirely dependent on what we do here in Oro Valley and Marana and where the conservatives turn out for the vote. We're going to win. The guy's going to win if we put in the work. The reason I'm here is not only because I believe in it, but Citizens United believes in it. And that's not a small thing. When Citizens United throws their weight behind somebody, it's a big deal. It is a very big deal. I actually have, in fact, I forgot to give this to you earlier, I have a $5,000 check from Citizens United. Take it from me, the group does not, we don't throw our weight behind anybody unless they really, really believe. Unless they really believe. They have ignored a million different Republican stalls. They've run against a million different Republicans. We're not hesitant to get in primaries against people. But Jonathan Paton's the real deal. We need him, and it's going to be entirely dependent on what we believe in, on how much we believe in working for him. Because while we all hope Obama will lose, and I think he will, especially with the new pick. We all hope he will lose, but if he doesn't, we don't have the luxury because most of us have children and grandchildren and people we care about. You don't have the luxury of crossing your arms and storming back in your house and getting away from politics forever. The only chance we have to save this country, if Obama wins, is winning Congress and holding Congress to people who hold one. It is the only chance we have. I think if you John, campaign, the one we just lost, it was everything. The previous campaign where we had a brutal primary, Jonathan and I, as soon as the primary was over, Jonathan was all in for us. That's the kind of man that is. That is not an easy thing to do. It's just going to be a good fortune to win. Take it from someone who just did. It's not a great feeling to lose an election. Pick yourself right up and go back and fight for the cause. That's everything you need to know about Jonathan Paton here. Everything you needed to know. In our last run against Ron Barber here, Jonathan was helping when I didn't even ask him to. He would call and ask what we needed. He would send his volunteers down to the office. The guy is running in a district that is the size of Pennsylvania, correct? And he's sending his volunteers to my office. So that tells you everything you need. So before I hand it off to him, I just want to say on a personal note again how just unbelievable it is to see you all. I love you guys so much. I just talked to somebody, they asked, do you miss Tucson? And the answer is no. Not even a little bit, but you're what I miss. I had a smile on my face the whole day flying out here knowing I was going to get to see you all. So thanks for coming out, and let's go to war for this guy.
It was interesting. I had an interesting experience in this campaign. Talking about it when right around the time that the primary was over and early ballots were being sent out, and I got my early ballot, and there's Jesse's name, and I filled it out, and I went in to the Kelly campaign headquarters, which was kind of like going into the belly of the beast. I never experienced that before. I saw Lynn, and I went into like the, I guess the Council of Wise Men or whatever that is. And there's Stuart was there, there was Adam was there was John was there. They're all there. They're all sitting in front of these laptops, typing away, doing all these great, wonderful things. And I walked in, and it was like the piano player stopped playing in the saloon, you know. And I went up to them, and they said, well, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm here to drop off my ballot. That's what you guys said you wanted me to do, right? And right at that moment, I got a phone call on my cell phone. And I look at the cell phone, and it's Jesse Kelly. And I answered the phone, and he said, hey, I got a question for you. I said, well, actually, you can ask me in person because I'm right next door in the office on the other side of the hall. And he walked in, and we did whatever we could because we knew how important this race was. And so he said, hey, when you're running, whatever I can do to help you. I've learned a few things over the years. And there's one other thing, Jesse, and that is please do not run against me. Here's the thing, is that what this all boils down to is that we have a country right now that is heading towards one of two paths. We all know. We know for a fact that if we continue down the path that we're going, we know where that leads. All you have to do is turn on your television set and look what happened to Greece. And that's the United States. The greatest country the world has ever known could end up just like that empire did, a sad reflection of its former self. Or we can go a completely different direction of prosperity for your children and your grandchildren. Those are the two choices. And you look at every single metric. You look at how we're in debt. You look at what's happening on our southern border. You look at what's happening to the values of our children. You look at all those different things. And the fact of the matter is that we can stand here and we can continue to get the tar beat out of us, or we can take our country back. And that's why we're here tonight, to take that country back. I can't do it for you. Only you can do that. I'm running for office, but the fact of the matter is I learned the hard way. I think Jesse's learned the hard way. It all comes down to votes. It all comes down to people. You get one vote here, one vote there. You get that Rasa Studies thing in TUSD. You get one vote here, one vote there. You get nationalized health care. The answers we need to solve the problems in this country are the people in this room. You're every part of every election, every vote, every campaign in the conservative movement. We fight for those votes. We tear ourselves to pieces in the primary for those votes, but we know how important it is, because when you add up all those votes, that is the difference, not between winning and losing. That's the difference between liberty and tyranny for this country. Now, I can't do that for you. But for over 200 years, your forefathers fought for the future of this country. I wore the uniform just like Jesse did. And I'll tell you, I swore an oath, not to a president, not to a king, but to the Constitution of the United States. And right now, it is that Constitution that is in moral danger from what's happening in this country and from this commander-in-chief. Article 1, Section 8 spells it out. It says, these are the duties of a member of Congress. These are the things that you're supposed to do. And implicit in that is that in Article 1, Section 8, implicit in it, it says, in my mind, you need to speak truth to power. You need to be the one who's going to be asking the tough questions and be a check and a balance on any president who occupies the Oval Office. Well, right now, we just got a shot in the arm. Because help is on the way. Help is on the way because right now, the one person in America who could articulate what the problems are, that one person is now the running mate of Mitt Romney, and his name is Paul Ryan. And that is I'm so fired up because I'll tell you this, for the first time, we're going to have someone who's going to be able to articulate everything that we're already going to get hit on. You know for a fact, the Democrats are going to come out there and they're going to say, you're going to try to do this with Social Security. You're going to try to do this for Medicare. The fact of the matter is, there's only one person in this race who has voted to destroy Medicare, and that's Ann Kirkpatrick when she voted for Obamacare. That's the fact. The fact of the matter is, she voted for something that's going to take $700 billion away from Medicare in order to pay for Obamacare. Ladies and gentlemen, this is serious business. This is not going to be a campaign any longer talking about what taxes someone paid and all these other things, these extraneous items. It's going to be one thing. It's going to be big ideas. The future of this country, that path that we're going to take. So here's the bottom line. It's no longer about me, Jonathan Paton. It's no longer about Jesse Kelly. It's no longer about Mitt Romney. And it's no longer about Paul Ryan or even the President of the United States. It is about the Constitution of the United States and the future of the greatest empire the world has ever known, the United States of America. And that all comes down to you. What can you do? We need your help. In a few short weeks, have a chance right now of having the district represent Southern Arizona. I can't speak for the other districts, but I can speak for this one. This is one of them. And right now, it is the most watched district in the country. It is that close. We just completed the NRCC did polling in this district, and it's within 3 points. And the only reason why we're not even further ahead is the fact that my name ID in certain parts of the district just isn't high enough. And we start getting the resources to tell people what my message is, we're going to raise that, and we're going to win this race. So I want to thank you, but I also want to thank Jesse Kelly. People ask me, what's different between your last campaign and the next campaign? Well, actually, Jesse Kelly helped me make that difference. Because I learned an awful lot. I learned an awful lot, not only from Jesse, but I learned an awful lot from all of you. I remember going to those events and seeing those Kelly stickers on your chest. When I said to my campaign team, we need to get Lindsay and Angelo out there with our stickers. Psychological warfare, because she's the one that is a great practitioner of that art. I'll tell you what. But we learn things from other people, and that's how you become better and better at what you do. But the passion is still there. The passion to change this country. So I want to thank Jesse for flying out. I want to thank Citizens United for their support. But most of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out, for embracing me, and my fiance Angie, and our family, and what we want to do to this country of bringing it back to the values that we all grew up with. So I'm going to let you ask me some questions, and we're going to continue to have a good time. This is my favorite part.
Okay, so what do you need us to do?
I did not plan that question.
Yes, baby. I just know that it's all lovely. We all believe the same thing, but we've got to help with our checkbook.
It is the maximum amount you can give is $5,000 per person. I know that's a lot for some people, and some people they can give whatever they can give. So
I thought for the primary.
the primary is $2,500, $2,500. You can give it all.
And we have to give that now.
You have to get that now, absolutely.
And then we can give another $2,500 after August 28th.
Correct. Or you can
I
even give
just
it
thought I
sooner.
would bring that up. because I asked Jesse and he told me the number.
Yes, Jerry.
Tell us about having the Navajo and the Indian nations who are part of this.
This is a fascinating thing because this district goes all the way from southern Arizona, Moreno or Valley, all the way up to Utah. And I just want to tell you, one of the greatest experiences I've had in the campaign is actually going on the Navajo Reservation. And the reason for that is that, first of all, I know it's socialism incorporated. I mean, the way those people have been treated by the federal government of basically putting them into a reservation in which poverty is inescapable. When the government gives money, basically to keep you into a certain state, where they can't open up businesses, they have regulations, they have all these different things. But two things jump out. The first thing is that there is a place on the reservation called Fort Paton. It is one of the most incredible. If you ever get a chance to see it, it is an incredible burial ground for our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who give their lives from the Navajo Nation. And you look at those gravestones, and you see it goes back all the way from the Dakota Talkers all the way to January of last year, Lance Corporal was killed in Afghanistan, serving his country. We go to the chapter houses. That's kind of like the little town halls they have in the community. And there was a woman that was doing a kind of like a fry bread sale. She was selling fry bread to buy a gown for her son for his graduation. And I asked her what he was going to do when he graduated. She said he was going to join the Marine Corps. There wasn't even a second thought. That was their dedication and service to the country. And I was invited to speak to the tribal council, their State of the Nation. They have a state. We have a State of the Nation for the United States. We have a State of the State for Arizona. They've got a State of the Nation. And the president of the Navajo Nation speaks, and then he is asked questions, believe it or not, by the delegates of the tribal council. And it's a little bit like watching those on I said, not in Navajo. Or maybe that'll be a good thing because I won't know what they're doing. Well, I went there. Winona Benali Baldenegro, who's Ann Kirkpatrick's opponent in the primary, spoke, and then Ann Kirkpatrick herself. So all three of us. We all gave our presentation. We all answered questions. We all talked about what we thought was wrong with the country, what needed to be fixed, and we all got voted on at the end. And the way they do it is they don't just ask you the question. They all give their questions in a row, and at the end, you answer the questions one at a time. You have to write their name down, what their question was, and move on to the next one. And you answer them all at once. And it is quite the experience. And at the end, they vote. And Winona got a unanimous vote, I got a unanimous vote, and Ann Kirkpatrick did not get a unanimous vote. And here's the reason why. This guy stood up and he said, I've got a question. What have you ever done for us? He asked her. What have you ever done for us? We've got this on tape. He said, did you ever give a speech on our behalf? Have you ever stuck up for us when you were in Congress? Because I don't remember you doing anything for us. And then he said, and you won't answer our questions. And I answered their questions. There were some tough ones. They liked Obamacare because there's a portion of that for IHS funding that they like. And I had to tell them, look, I oppose Obamacare. I'm going to go through with it. So they said, at least you answered the question honestly, and she won't give it honestly. This is a winnable district. That's her base. That night, they endorsed Winona Baldenegro, and they directed all the tribal delegates to contribute to a fundraiser for Winona. This is a different world. And the most interesting response I got, and if this does not chill your blood, nothing will. A guy stood up and he says, you know what I like about Obamacare? He says, what I like about Obamacare is now the United States has become the largest reservation in the world. He said, because now you're going to get the same health care that we get. That was not my statement, that's what he had to say. He was a tribal delegate. So, thanks for the question. Sorry I went on for a while, but it's an interesting question. Any other questions, comments, complaints? Yes, ma'am.
Where is your office, your system?
My office, we're going to have a grand opening of our new office. It's at Ina and Thornydale, and I believe it's on tomorrow, right? Tomorrow at 4:30. I'm just the candidate, so I'm like a groom at a wedding. Not really. Yes.
Is Winona the Indian that's running? Who's Winona?
Winona is, she's the Navajo from Kayenta, and she's running. And she's not going to win the primary. I don't want to mislead you into thinking that she's going to win the primary, but every single tribe has endorsed her. And that's good for us, because a lot of them are saying, you know what, after this primary is over, we're kind of like free agents. And we may very well support Jonathan. We went to and something else, on the Gila River community, at Wild Horse Pass, just before you get to Phoenix, the governor of the Gila River tribe is a Republican. He's contributed to the NRCC. I think he's about as conservative as they come. And I got a chance to speak to them, and they said she has not showed her face yet to their community. Other questions, comments? Yes.
Well, I've got my primary ballot. And I know all the votes except for the U.S. Senate. I'm very...
I ain't touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
No,
That's just
Jesse.
I don't know if I should answer this question while you're doing this. I said there may be a grenade.
Only wait a second.
What do you want to know?
I don't know if I should go to his record, or Will Carson, who has no record.
No.
Yes.
But which reminded me, it doesn't matter. It's already open.
Yeah, Carmona's gonna win it.
Whoever you want, whatever reason you want to generate, things. One of the nice things working at Citizens United, we have the best polling firm in the country. They are never wrong, and I'm telling you, it is over.
Can you give us a number, like maybe 6?
It's going to win by more than 1.
Reminds me of a story. There was, this is, advice that I took from Barack Obama, but there's an old story in the former Soviet Union, when Khrushchev left, Brezhnev came in and he said to him as he was leaving, he said, I've got a way that you can save yourself, when a crisis happens. And he said, well, what's that? He said, well, I got these 2 letters. And each time there's a problem, you open up one of the letters and it'll get you out of that jam. And he said, okay, thank you. So the first crisis came up. He opens up the first letter and it says, easy, blame everything on me. And so he does that. The next crisis comes up. He reaches for his drawer and he pulls out that letter and it says, write 2 letters. And that is exactly where this president is right now. He's about ready to write 2 letters. Yes, Clint. Okay, good, 2 good questions. I would say that the experience that I got in the legislature taught me that you have got to be smart and you got to work hard in order to promote a Republican conservative agenda. And you've got to, what I learned very quickly is that it doesn't matter who the governor is, and this governor supported me, but I didn't always agree with her on every single issue. And I certainly didn't agree with the last occupant of that office. And if you believe in freedom, you've got to fight like all get out. Because once the cameras are away and you're there in your caucus room talking to one another, there's a lot of people that can I guess the other thing that I learned is how important to stay thoughtful. You look at the biggest issues that we're confronting right now, and I'll go through this district. People ask me all the time, what is this district is so big? How can you possibly address concerns? Very simple. This district has more federal land than any other district in the state, and almost in the West. And the reason why that's so important is that every single person you talk to in this district either has experienced it or knows somebody who's been hurt by the federal government. Whether it's the EPA, whether it's the Forest Service, whatever it might be, there's a little guy with a clipboard, a bureaucrat that says, no, you can't have this job, no, you can't have raising rights, no, you're not going to be able to have no, across the board. And they all want someone who's going to bring that power back from Washington back to the state. We've got the EPA. We definitely want clean water, we want clean air, but why can't the Department of Environmental Quality and why do we have to have them take care of that in Washington? Forest Service, we've got our own agency to do that job and a lot better. We don't need the federal government to tell us what to do. We need the states to do it. They're the laboratories of democracy, and that is the biggest thing I learned from the state, is that most of the problems that we have in the state of Arizona were caused by some bureaucrat in Washington, and it starts with our southern border. Because they made a decision that they're not going to do it. And you brought up the issue about executive orders. One of the first executive orders that is really, well, the most recent one that caught my attention is basically the decision by the president, essentially to grant amnesty by video. He made a decision that he doesn't care about the rule of Congress. The only way that we're going to do this is by saying, no, we're not going to raise the debt ceiling. No, we're not going to give you any money. No. That's how you hold them down. We can't go on with SARS. We can't go on with executive orders that completely circumvent the Constitution. that when one of the bills that I sponsored, that was the favorite secret ballot, basically getting rid of card checks. National Labor Relations Board is suing the state of Arizona to try to basically have the right to unionize.
Why don't you explain it?
Card check is when the union says that they can go to you and say, hey, would you like to join a union? Or would you like to have a union here in the shop? And you're like, well, not really. We'll sign here. We want you to sign in front of everybody. They put pressure on somebody to force them into signing. They get 51% of the workers in the plant automatically. That's not the democratic process. So what we have in our state, enshrined in our Constitution, is something that says, no, you have to have a secret ballot. You have to be able to go and vote, and no one knows who you're voting for. And there's a true story in Arizona. They had a mining rep or they had a mining shop, and they had somebody came in from a union to start the union. Only 10 workers. Only had 10 workers there. So they got 6 workers. They would be able to unionize, but they had to put it up for a vote, and it was a secret ballot vote. So everyone said, I'm with you. I'm with you. You got my vote. And then on election day, there was only one vote. And the union organizer is in the bar crying in his beer, and every single one of those guys came by and they said, I was with you. I was with you. That's the power of the secret ballot. And that's what a lawmaker, one person can do, and that is what we need to be doing at the federal level, standing up for states' rights, the 10th Amendment and the 9th Amendment. So thank you for that question.
What's your position on border security?
My position on border security is, first of all, we have you have to have consequences for people that come over illegally. That's why I voted for Senate Bill 1070. The second thing is, and Jesse articulated this well when he ran, is you have to have a double layer fence to stop people from coming over. And my opinion is if you had a prison and you built a wall around this prison, Jesse could probably say this verbatim because I've heard me in the last campaign talk about it so much. But you put a 50-foot wall around that prison, but you didn't have anybody guarding it, eventually everybody would get out. There's one person in this country who's never let us down. There's one person who's never failed us. And that's the American soldier, sailor, airman, and marine who need the National Guard on the border, and we need it tomorrow. And we could do that if we had a president that would actually send those 4,000 troops where they need to go. So combination of those things and a lot of technology, et cetera, all that needs to happen. And a will to do it. But I guess the most important thing is that we had a governor who became a director of Homeland Security. And she said, when she went down the border is more secure than it's ever been.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's the thing. The problem is, she can make that statement and a lot of Americans believe her. Yeah. Because they don't know anything, right? You've been down to the border. You've talked to the ranchers there. This gentleman wrote a book about our southern border. And yours truly has a little chapter in it. And I'm very, very grateful for that. But part of it is that the people who know whether the border is secure are the people who live on the border. And my belief is that you should have a provision in law that says we are not going to make the border secure until the people on the border, they say our border is secure. We feel safe at home. We feel as though we can go recreate ourselves around town because we know we're safe. Until that day happens, that border isn't secure, I don't believe anything that she said, and I don't believe anything the president said, but I believe that people
I can add something to that. I don't think through the incredibly $1.9 billion they came through while I was there. Just shortly after I was there. They kept the big posts down, they put the ramps up, they sent the trucks across. This is not uncommon. I've been down there the week before and the week before that, and believe me, there are not enough people on that border. Essentially, it is an abandoned border.
We've heard that the NAU has a good Republican unit
about it, so.
Oh my gosh, they're fired up. They are so fired up. Maybe it's being in the middle of, surrounded by all those liberals at the university. I don't know what it is. But they are hardened warriors. I'll tell you what, they have come out, they've helped me. They went down to Tucson for the election governor of God. They went all the way down from NAU. They're great people, and they want to win. And they want to, now here's something else. People say, well, Flagstaff, it's so liberal in Flagstaff. How are you going to possibly win in Flagstaff? I got news for you. The newest mayor of Flagstaff, for the first time in, I don't know how long, maybe ever, is a Republican. We're going there, the newest city council member, Jeff Orovitz, is going to be having an event for me there. He is also a Republican. Newest members. And you know what? They didn't have to hide their beliefs in conservatism. They ran on being fiscal conservative for the city council and said, if you hire us, we're not going to vote for a tax increase, and we're not going to do anything but cut the tax. And that's exactly what they've done, and they were shocked. People in the community could not believe that they kept their word and they're doing it. This is winnable. The mayor of Globe now, Uniontown, is now Republican. The entire council, they're all Republican. 62% of the vote. This is a winnable district, ladies and gentlemen. It's up to you, though. So, one last question.
Were those partisan?
They were not partisan. They were nonpartisan, but everybody knew which party they were in. Both parties knew the globe is small enough that they actually knew, and the Flagstaff came out in force as well as the Republicans. Here's a great thing about Flagstaff. What I love about it is that in Coconino County, the Republican Party and the Tea Party, they actually work together to get people elected. It's a great thing. We can do that. We can do that.
From a national perspective, are we going to get the coverage for you national that we need in order for you to be able to raise the money?
My feeling is, so we're going to talk primary. We do have a primary, August 28th. We've done polling in the primary. We're winning by over 30 points in the primary. Except for in Pima County, and we're winning by about 40 points in Pima County. We're going to win this primary. I learned that you kind of have to win the primary. The NRCC, when there was a poll that was done, they looked at the numbers, they looked all try to fight like that. They're going to try to distort anything about me because they can't really assault my record on, well, because I've never supported the law. I've never supported the law. So they're going to do everything they can to trash me personally, just like they did to Jeff. That's the case. Let me give you that right away. And you have to tell my I just tell about the fact that I was a veteran, that I fought in Iraq, that I served in the Senate, that I served in the legislature, that I'm from Arizona. I have to be able to say that for them. And that's what your money is going to do, honestly. Does that help?
Don't get the national attention that I think we need, and I don't understand why a domestic woman wouldn't be helping to.
It is such an important area. Look, this state, first of all, forget everything else. This state has been fighting alone against the power of the federal government. We lead the way not only on Senate Bill 1070, but on states' rights, on fighting the Forest Service, on fighting every single step of the way. They owe this state because we are fighting this fight about not only for ourselves, but for the entire nation. Because when you're done with this, you have the guts to do that. So I want to make sure that we're in a position to make that fight. And groups like Citizens United, I'm sure going to be involved. I'm sure there's going to be other groups involved. But we need your help. If you could go tomorrow to our opening of our headquarters, many of you, we've done battle over the 2 years ago. I understand that. But I'm on your side. I need your help. And I would not have asked Jesse to come out here if it wasn't for the fact that I admire him and I respect him and what he was able to create. And there was no grassroots organization like the one that he helped create all of these. So we need your help. With your help, we can win this race. We can win. You've got people all across the state that are depending not only on themselves, but because Southern Arizona is going to be where the population and quite frankly, the resources are. So thank you very much for coming out. Have a great night. Thank you very much.
Hi, Jack. I'm Terry. This is Luke, just in case we should run into each other. Behind us.
Maybe a little late.
Did you say that it was
One thing it may be in our favor. We can take a day to that.
I think it's got what time? 8:30 now?